Okay, so this is a video I promised for during tutoring today. So here we go. So on this problem number 7, notice that there's a plus here. So with a plus, all we have to do is combine like terms. So I'm just going to take 8 and 3, and over here notice there's a minus 2 and 3. Well, what's 8 minus 2? That's 6 in 3s. And then my method is once I circle and cross them out, I move on to my next one. Now, notice here I have a plus 3n squared. Over here I have another 3n squared. What's 3 plus 3? Well, that's 6n squared. Now that I have the n squareds done, what's left is an 8 and a minus 6. And 8 minus 6 is 2. All right, let's look at number 8. Now notice this one is a minus. So it's very important to remember whenever there's a minus, do the distributive or distribute the minus first. So I'm going to do a minus 4. The minus with the minus 3 makes plus 3n. And the minus with this 5 here makes minus 5n4. So again, the minus with that 4 makes minus 4. This minus with this minus 3n makes 3n. And this minus with the 5 makes minus 5n4. So now that I have that minus done, I usually cross or scribble it out, because now I'm just focused on this. And all I have to do is just combine like terms again. So notice I have an 8n here. Over here I have a 3n. Well, what's 8 plus 3? 11n. The n's are done. What about the 5 and the minus 4? Those are regular numbers, right? Now 5 minus 4 is a plus 1. Now as I write the answer down here, notice I'm just putting them in order by power. All right, it's a good thing to do. So now that the regular numbers are done, notice the only thing left here is 8 and 4, and over here minus 5 n 4s. Well, what's 8 minus 5? That's 3 n 4. And there's my answer. So again, when you combine like terms, they have to be exactly the same letter, or as we call variable, and the exact same exponent. So notice I did combine the n4s together, I combined the n's together, and I combined the regular numbers together. If there's nothing to combine, of course, it just stays as is. All right, let's move on to number 9. Now, notice on this one, there is no plus or minus there. You should recognize that this is just a straight up multiply problem. Now, when we multiply, we have to distribute. So what does that mean? That means everything on the left parentheses times is everything in the right parentheses. So the first thing I'm going to do is 8v times 2v. And 8 times 2 is 16. V times v. So 8 times 2 is 16. V times v is v2 or v squared. Now I'm going to take this 8v and also times the minus 1 over here. So what's 8v times minus 1? Well, that's just a minus 8v. So again, notice the 8v on the left times both terms in the parentheses on the right. That's called distributive property. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this 7 here. Now it is a plus 7. If that's a minus 7, I would have to deal with that at the same time. But 7 times 2v is the next thing I'm going to do. Well, what's 7 times 2? That's a 14v. And then finally, 7 times minus 1. Well, what's 7 times minus 1? That's a minus 7. So notice again that everything here in the left parentheses times everything in the right parentheses. That's called distributive property. And so now here's my answer. It's not quite done yet because notice the two middle terms are both v's. We can combine them. We call that combining like terms, right? So our final result is going to be 16v squared The 14 and the minus 8 make 6v with a minus 7. And there's our final result. Okay, let's do one more. Now notice the only thing different with this one is I have 1, 2, 3 terms on the right, but I'm still going to do the same thing I did on number 9. I just have to deal with an extra term. So hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to take 5x here, and I'm going to times with this 2x squared. Well, what is 5x times 2x squared? Be careful with your exponents or powers, okay? 5 times 2 is 10. The x times x squared, hopefully you know, is x3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. Now I'm going to take 5x times the 2x. Well, 5 times 2 is a 10, and the x times x is an x squared. Notice I did exactly everything I did on 9, except I do have an extra term here. Well, guess what? That also has to times with the 5x. So 5x times 8 is simply 40x. Okay, so again, before I continue, notice the 5 here, that's in the left parentheses, times all 3 terms in the right parentheses. That's distributive property. Now, I got to do the same thing with the 6 here, just like with the 5x. The 6 has to times the 2x squared. Well, what is 6 times 2x squared? 6 times 2 is 12x2, or x squared. Now I'm going to do 6 times 2x. What is 6 times 2x? Well, 6 times 2 is 12x. And then I'm finally going to do 6 times 8. Let me just squeeze it in up here. Well, what's 6 times 8? That's a plus 48. So notice again, the 5x and the 6, both those terms in the left parentheses, each one times all 3 terms in the right parentheses. Again, this is what we call distributive property. Now, our answer here, of course, is not complete until we combine like terms. So we have here in front a 10x3. Okay. And we have, so that's done. We have a 10x squared and a 12x squared. Well, that's 22x squared. 10 plus 12 is 22. They're both x squareds or x2s, so they're like terms. We have a 40x and a 12x. Well, that makes 52x. 40 plus 12 is 52. So that takes care of the x's. And of course, don't forget there's a plus 48 at the end. Now our answer is complete, right? We combined all of the x squareds, the x's. There was only one x3 term, the 10x3 in front. And of course, only one regular number at the end. But that in a nutshell is how you do distributive property. I hope this helps. And remember, distributive properties for multiply. 7 and 8 are plus and minus problems. Also remember on 8, we had this minus right here, and you got to make sure you always distribute that first. That'll help you avoid any silly mistakes when you're doing your calculations. But there's our tutoring video for today, 7 December.